And I want you to notice this at the end of chapter 1, verse 11, our main character here, Nehemiah. It says the very last couple of verses, the very last couple of words now, I was a cupbearer to the king. Now, if you don't know what a cupbearer is, what's a cupbearer for the king? It's a guy with a pretty short life expectancy, right? This is the kind of guy, so Sean, you're the king, and somebody brings you a plate of food, and before you can eat it, what is my responsibility as cupbearer? My responsibility is, I've got to taste all of your food and drink a little bit of your wine before you eat it, so that if it's poisoned, you don't die. But who dies? This guy. Short life expectancy, common dude. And this is what I want you to see. Nehemiah was a normal guy. Ezra was a priest. Ezra was like a full-time professional Christian, all on, all the time. Like we would expect Ezra to be doing something great for God, right? Esther, she becomes a queen. God appoints her into a queen position. You would expect, okay, Ezra, of course, you got to do something for God in the position that you're in. But here's Nehemiah. He's a normal dude with just kind of a lowly position. I would equate this to just a blue-collar guy working a normal job, slugging it out day in and day out. He's not looked up to by anybody. He's just straight normal. Can you identify with a character like that in God's word? And yet, here's the thing about Nehemiah. Nehemiah is never going to receive a dream from God. He's never going to see a vision. And when we talk about vision today, we're not talking about some supernatural dream that people in the church have gotten from God, and that's what you're supposed to follow. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here in the text is Nehemiah had a crystal clear vision of what God had already commanded them to do, and he never took his eyes off of it. That is a visionary. Someone who knows exactly what God has called them to do. He's willing to pray hard, he's willing to work hard, and he's willing to follow God no matter the cost. That's a visionary. And we have very few of those in today's church. But I wonder if God is calling you to be a Nehemiah. God raises up Nehemiah, an ordinary guy, to accomplish God's extraordinary plans. And all Nehemiah needed to do was to follow by faith to make God's vision become reality. Are you ordinary? Are you ordinary? Yeah. I'm about as ordinary as it gets. I'm boring. I don't have much of a life. If you were to ask me what was your childhood like, I'd say it was really dull. Like there's nothing really special about me. If you're anything like me, there might not be a whole lot special about you, but the beauty of that is that God is calling ordinary people to do extraordinary things if they are willing to follow by faith. If they are willing to pray hard, if they are willing to work hard, if they are willing to keep their eyes on the vision that God has cast from His Word, then we're going to have a ton of Nehemiahs raise up in the church. But you got to be willing to you got to be willing to follow, you've got to be willing to pray, you've got to be willing to work. Those are visionaries.